Dan Sherwood is taking the reins of Randall Raiders football. We got a chance to talk with him in our sit-down with Sherwood.
Welcome back into Sports Drive, everybody. We're joined now by the new head coach of the Randall Raiders, Coach Dan Sherwood. Coach, thanks so much for taking the time and sitting down with us today in your new turf room.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. It's nice to be in such a tremendous venue.
I know you got the chance to explore it already a bit this week. You know, I saw you out here when one of the players that you're unfortunately not going to have next season, Nathan Baker, who was a great wide receiver last year for the team, was signing with ORU. What have you thought coming around Randall, seeing the facilities and seeing the fields?
I'm just excited to be here. The kids have been fantastic. The parents have been great reaching out. The coaches have been great reaching out. It's just been I understand this part of it, little honeymoon phase. I know it's not going to last very long, and I'm used to that. But it's been a really good time, and I'm just looking forward to the future and the start of summer workouts.
Have you gotten the chance to talk with some of the kids on the team next year and interact with them a little bit?
I've gotten to see the kids, got to see them a couple of days ago for the first time, got to see the 7th and 8th graders as well too, so I'm excited about all of them, all the way from about to be seniors to those incoming 7th graders. They've got a good group of kids out here, and I'm just excited to be a part of it, and I'm ready to get to coach them up.
You know, I imagine there are some similarities between what you notice about kids from the Amarillo area, kids from the Texas Panhandle, football players from this area. What are those similarities that you notice that is kind of a common thread among a lot of these football players?
Even coming from Caprock over here, it's still a blue-collar community. Very tough kids, very good kids. And so I'm used to that. And I'm used to the mentality that they've been playing with. I'm used to the mentality that the parents have. And I'm just excited to put my stamp on it and let them get to know me and my blue-collar mentality and my work ethic. I think it's going to be a really good relationship, and I'm excited to see what we can do.
One of the coaches here who you might have known a little bit beforehand, as I assume many of them that might be the case, but Haley Burns coming from Caprock to Randall as well for volleyball, and that was something that Toby kind of brought up during your press conference after the fact of talking about how well that worked out. Did you get the chance to talk with her a little bit even before you made the decision about that move and what it was like for her?
I definitely did. I got to work with Haley for a long time, and it was great times over there at Caprock, and I'm looking forward to even more great times here, but definitely know her, and she gave me some great insight as to how great this place is, kids, coaches, administration, everybody. And that made the whole process much better, just much more comfortable. And you're looking for that as a football coach. You can't just come in here and immediately this is how it's going to be, like it or not. You've got to be able to be adaptable and let those kids gradually get to know you, coaches gradually get to know you, and build that trust, and then that makes it better in the long run for those kids to know that, hey, coach knows what he's talking about. And there's going to be some differences, obviously. Everybody's a little bit different, but I think they're excited for what we have to offer.
And Haley Burns, obviously, when she came to Randall, a lot of success. She ends up winning a state championship this year. Are you hoping for something similar with the football program, I imagine?
Oh, of course. That's always the reason why you play, is for that end in mind. But I'm big on making sure that I'm doing my part as an adult, as a positive role model for these kids to make them successful for a life after high school. Now, we're going to win football games, and we're going to be excited about it, but that is not the end-all, be-all of the program. If it was, then I wouldn't be here. Winning at any level is hard, and no matter what, no matter where you're at, it is hard. And so you need to love what you have to do to be able to win. And every single rep matters, every single play matters, every single practice matters, every film session matters. The kids here already have that ingrained in them, and so that's going to be really nice for me from my standpoint. But it's still going to be a little bit different approach, and I think they're going to like it. But Coach Selman and his staff have done a tremendous job here, and I'm going to make sure I respect that and treat these kids and these coaches how they should be, with all the respect and stuff that they've done here, all the success that they've had. So I'm going to make sure that I respect that too.
And you had the chance, I mentioned, to talk to Coach Selman a little bit since you took the job. I know he was here the other day as well. Just what have those conversations been like about him sort of passing the baton off to you and handing off a lot of the players that he's helped bring up to take over what he's done, as you kind of highlighted?
Well, us as coaches, we're always a tight-knit group, especially in this area, and I've had a great relationship with Coach Selman for a long time now. And that made the transition much more comfortable, knowing him, knowing what he's about, knowing how his program is. A lot of similarities from where I'm coming from. And that, I think that made myself more comfortable, made him more comfortable. I think he can trust that we're going to do a really good job here. And I'm going to continue to reach out to him if he's got some insight or input of things that are a little bit different here that he can fill me in on, or things of that nature. He's always going to be welcome here because, I mean, he did a really good job, and he needs to make sure that he can still come around and see these kids that he's built great relationships with. So it's been a smooth transition on that end, and I foresee that to continue to happen.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that you said during the press conference, a couple of things that you said that really stood out were when you were talking about the chance to play or to coach in the stadium that you played in high school and then the stadium that you played in college. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, wow, that's really cool. That's a really cool statement. And, one of the things about you, Coach, is a lot of people talk about how you have that kind of reserved demeanor. But the thing I noticed, and I think the thing that some people might miss in that, is that you still have this, emotion that you coach with and you treat these kids with. It's something that's kind of struck me in talking to you, just how much you care about this sport, these kids, this area, and how much of kind of just your heart and soul that you pour into it on a daily basis.
No, you have to be authentic. You have to be who you are, and this is who I am. I am pretty reserved, but I know what I'm looking for. I know what I want. I'm passionate about this sport. I'm passionate about this area. Every kid is looking for a role model, somebody that's going to believe in them, somebody that's going to push them, that's going to coach them hard. And that will be me, that will be this coaching staff, but we're also going to love them extremely hard too. At the end of every practice, every game, we'll say the same thing. We love them and we appreciate them. And that will carry over into every aspect of their life. These kids are going to reach out to our younger kids, our elementary school kids that want to be Randall Raiders. And I want that same emotion, the same relationship building that we have to trickle down to them from players and coaches. They need to know that this is the Raider family, and we're going to treat it that way. And that will never change. No matter what, it won't change. There's going to be passion. There's going to be fire. There's going to be all of that stuff. But it's going to be real, it's going to be genuine, it's going to be authentic. Nothing about it is going to be fake. And kids can see that, kids can sense that, and people in general can sense that. And as long as you're willing to work and you're humble about it, and if you make a mistake, you make sure you own up to it, myself at the very top of that list, people buy into that.
Amarillo High, West Texas A&M, Caprock High School, now Randall High School. You've kind of started to have a hand in the success of so many different football programs from around this area. What does it mean to you to know that you've had the opportunity to impact so many of the bigger schools here around the area in terms of, on the field and in the coaching ranks?
Well, God has blessed me with the opportunity to be a head football coach at a very young age. And that was extreme luck on my part, or it was his planning, so I'm going to go with his planning. But I made sure I'm not going to waste that opportunity. I've gotten so many t-shirts and hats from all coaches and everything. My wardrobe is full of silver and black and white now. My wife loves it. I love it. And one thing that stuck out to me on one of the shirts was the Raider mentality. It fits me perfectly. I love that mentality. I love the mentality of going out there with a chip on your shoulder, anything of that nature that's going to give you a little bit more of an edge. That is going to be perfect fitting for me and these kids that have been through that already. But as far as touching kids' lives or impacting others, that's all I ever want to be, is a positive impact. on players or coaches. That's it. I want to be a positive impact. There's a lot to this game of football, but we're going to keep it simple of the fact that we're going to make sure we are tremendous role models for these young men.
Absolutely, Coach. You mentioned the Raiders wardrobe. I tried to match it a little bit today, so we'd be together. But I do want to ask you too. During the moment where you were introduced to the school board and officially named a head coach, they read off that list of accolades, which was very long. You talk about bringing Caprock their only playoff win in school history, and being on the top 40 coaches under 40 list. When you hear them kind of rattle off all those things that you've accomplished, what is your reaction to that, and how do you kind of just respond to that in your head when you're realizing all the stuff you've already accomplished to this point in your career?
Their collective accomplishments, it wouldn't have happened without the great kids that we had and the great coaching staff that I was working with. And so they're not my accolades. I'm not going to have that. I told the Caprock kids before this was even an opportunity of I'm long done past any accolades coaching wise. I don't care if there's ever any one of those again. I'm all about making sure these kids realize how successful they can be, how great they can be, how great this area is and should be noticed statewide. And I am all in wherever I am at, and so here at Randall High School, I'm all in with the Raider mentality, the Raider way. The Caprock kids know I've got a big Caprock C tattooed on my back after that first playoff win. It's something the school had never done, and I'm absolutely willing to put a nice big Raider shield on my back too when we do something the school hasn't done either. So I think that's going to be a nice little push for those kids, and I hope they realize that it's real and it's always going to be there. Caprock will always be a part of me, and Randall is always going to be a part of me too.
One of your former players from a while back that I work with now, Gabriel Lujan, told me about that tattoo just a couple days ago, and he always spoke very highly of you. A lot of those Caprock kids just loved having you as a coach. And now, just a few days ago, Caprock announces Rowdy Freeman as the next head coach. I already see the smile on your face. I know that must mean a lot to you, considering how close you two were. What does it mean to you to see Rowdy step into that role and know that those kids are going to continue to be led by him?
It means everything to me. I've been very fortunate to get some really good coaches hired on staff. So Rowdy is actually going to be the third head coach for my coaching tree, and that means a lot to me. Coach Wampler, who got Boys Ranch to their second playoff appearance last year, and is now at Clarendon, is another one. Coach Stout, who's at Highland Park, who took them to the playoffs last year, is the other. And so now with Rowdy being there and a lot of other guys I was fortunate to bring on staff over there, they've got a good leader. And he's got good people that are going to work with him. So I'm still going to be the biggest Caprock fan, unless we're playing them, that there is in the state of Texas.
Who are the Caprock kids getting in Coach Freeman?
They're getting a fantastic guy. They're getting somebody who genuinely loves them, genuinely cares about them, is passionate about their success, who is going to work tirelessly to make sure that they get everything they can out of him. So that's who they're getting, and they know that, and it's been wonderful to see on social media all the warm welcomes from current and former players that are excited for him. I knew what I was getting in when he was my middle school coordinator over at Bowie. It's like, you have to get up here to the high school, and I'm going to get you up here one way or another. And he knew he was a head coach in the making, and now I think he's been overly grateful. I think he's kind of tall-taled what I've done for him. I haven't done anything. He's done it all. He's made himself worthy of being in that head spot, and I'm looking forward to see what he does.
Coach, you mentioned that first priority being not about winning, about taking care of the kids, making sure they become the human beings that they can be at the end of their time here at Randall. But I am curious, you're talking about coming to a school where winning is something that happens a lot here at Randall. You're talking about the school that looks like it's going to win the Lone Star Cup this year for success across all sports, all extracurriculars for a lot of the school. How much of a draw was that for you, knowing you were coming to a place where they invest so much in their athletics, in their teams, in their kids, doing those things that they love to do?
I mean, that's something that can easily be seen or thought was a big draw. It was, but for me, this was another opportunity to reach a different group of kids, to have an impact on them, and the winning takes care of itself if you follow what we do. If you're all invested in what it takes to be successful, then you will be successful. If we're only focused on the end prize, we're going to stumble on the steps that it takes to be successful that are right in front of us. So we're going to focus on those steps day in and day out, and then at the end of the day, the scoreboard, the winning, the success takes care of itself. We're not going to go out there on opening kickoff ready to think about playoffs when it's game one, and all we need to think about is this one kickoff, and then the next play, and the next play, and the next play. If we stay focused on that mentality, I keep saying excited. I think I've said it about 10,000 times in the past 2 weeks on how excited I am, but that's the best word for it. Just walking through this entire place, the kids shaking my hand, looking me in the eye, and them saying how excited they are. I want June 5th, the first summer workout, to get here as quickly as it can so that these kids can really see what we're all about.
You know, Coach, one of the things that we haven't touched on really is that there are some challenges that are going to come with the Randall position, and it's something we haven't gotten the chance to talk with you about, in that, you know, last year was a split from West Plains. A lot of those seniors stuck around. Now it's that first year for Randall, for all of the athletic programs here, where it's just the kids that are left in that district. The seniors, of course, had the choice to stay. Many of them did. What do you expect from that aspect of things in terms of what kind of a challenge it's going to be to adjust with a group that is still recovering a little bit from having a lot of their classmates, having a lot of their teammates that they thought they were going to play with in high school, going to the other school, and having kind of a younger group to some extent?
And that's a really good question, because it's been one of those things that you knew that the school was going to be built. You knew it was going to happen, but still, when it does happen, it's a big shock to everybody. But I think with this whole new setup, with me coming in, some new stuff, a new atmosphere, a new type of mentality, I think that's going to help bridge that gap of knowing, hey, we've got some freshness in here too. West Plains has the brand new school, but we've also got somebody coming in who's new as well that can help these kids forget a lot about that split and know that now we're all Raiders. We're all in this together. It is so unbelievable to get to just walk 100 yards over to the Randall Junior High and see the future of Randall High School and not have to get in your car and drive somewhere. It's fantastic. And those kids have been great. Meeting the 7th graders one time, and I go over there the next day, and all of them get up out of the stands and, hey, coach, shaking your hand, all that good stuff. It's unbelievable energy and excitement. So I'm going to continue that. And I'm going to get over to those elementary schools too, to make sure that they know to sign up for Randall football camp in July, and make sure that we get as many, if not all, of the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade kids out there to be a part of this whole new deal. So I'm glad we got this interview on here so I could put that out there.
You mentioned, Coach, your grandfather and your grandparents living in this area, the fact that your father would have been a Randall Raider. Another really cool quote from your press conference. You had a lot of those during the press conference, but in thinking about that, what does it mean to you, the idea that you talked about exploring another branch of your family tree, and the idea that you could now be coaching kids that are somewhat like your father, come from that same part of the Amarillo area, come from that same part of the Texas Panhandle, and getting the chance to impact their lives in a positive way and make sure that they're set off on the right path as they approach college?
Absolutely, it's a big deal. My wife and I are 3rd and 4th generation Amarillo area people. So, I I say I've got a tattoo on my back. This place is tattooed on my heart and in my soul. So it's a big deal for me. And whenever, it's amazing how God works in mysterious ways. But I'm driving my 9-year-old son down to Canyon for a baseball game the day that Coach Selman announced his retirement. And we've driven down I-27, I don't know how many times, but that one time was the first time that he ever pointed over here to Randall and said, "What is that school over there?" It's like, "It's funny you mentioned that. That's Randall High School." And I've been thinking about applying for that place. And so that was another one of those just little nudges. You need to do it. You need to take your chance at it. Like I tell the kids, you take your chance at it. And it worked out, and I'm going to, my kids are excited. They've got their Randall baseball hats, and they're ready to be Raiders.
You know, during the press conference, I wanted to have a little fun. I wanted to ask a little fun question. I think you know already what I'm talking about. I asked about that Canyon Caprock game, one of the best games of the year last year over at Happy State Bank Stadium. And, you know, before I asked it, I kind of looked over because I wanted to make sure Coach Winfrey was watching while I was asking it. He said he didn't hear it. So I don't know if you know this part, but I went up to him afterwards. He asked me kind of what I said, and I explained it to him. And, he, of course, he starts laughing and everything like that. And he says, "Man, now when they're up 28-0 on us next year and they're going for 35, I'll know why." But I lead into that to just ask Coach Winfrey, Coach Cummings, two of the coaches that you'll be joining in the school district, tremendous people, tremendous coaches. What have your interactions with them been like so far, and what do you make of what they've already been doing with their programs? Obviously, two guys, Coach Winfrey been at Canyon a very long time, stepped into that head coaching role just in the last few years. Coach Cummings just getting started at West Plains last year. What have you made of their success so far?
Well, it's impressive how long Coach Winfrey has been at Canyon High School, so he's kind of an institution there now. But we've had a great relationship the entire time I've been coaching. He's been very open, very welcoming, helping me, especially as a young coach. And that continued whenever he took over after Coach Bryant retired. And we've had it seems like nothing but knockdown dragouts whenever we play them. And it's been good for our kids. It's just good football games. It's almost like a playoff game when you play them at that time. But seeing what Coach Cummings was able to do with a brand new program in the very first year was very impressive. I'm getting to know him a little bit more and more. I think my 9-year-old and my third grader and his third grader played Little League against each other last night before the weather hit. So I'm getting to know him more and more, but I've heard nothing but great things from coaches and people that I know over there. So that relationship's going to continue to get better and better. And we're all professionals. We're not going to take anything super seriously. We're going to treat each other the way you should treat each other outside the realm of football. But when you step on the white lines or in between the white lines, you know you're going to see some really good football. That's how it was last year in our game. When you got two good football teams playing each other, you should expect a good football game, and it should come down to the wire. And it should be hard fought, and the kids should have some emotions at the end of it because they put so much into it. But that won't carry over outside of the football field.
You talk about those battles that you've had and Caprock has had with Canyon in the past. Those are only going to get even more intense now because now it's part of the Randall Canyon rivalry. And right now, you guys have the GOAT here at Randall High School, so it's your job and the players' job next year to protect that. How much more intense do you imagine they could get? Because the way you described it, that playoff intensity, it sounds like it's hard to even imagine them being amped up even further than that.
It's unbelievably fun. Like, you cannot imagine a better place to be than to be a head football coach in a rival game in the state of Texas. I was fortunate enough in high school to get to play in one like that with Amarillo High and Tascosa, and then you get to play in college with WT in Eastern New Mexico in the wagon wheel, which we won all the time, by the way. But then you get into the coaching world at Caprock. It was Caprock and Paladuro, and we had some really good football games while we were there. And it's going to be fun to have those rivalry games, but in a stadium like Happy State Bank Stadium. So I'm still getting used to not calling it Kimbrough, so don't get on to me if I slip up on that. But I can't wait for that, but I also know there's a process we got to follow before we get there. And we're going to treat that game like we would any other game that we're going out there, and we're going out there to win. And we know that everything else is going to be amped up, but we're not going to fast forward to it just yet.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We know you mentioned how excited you are. We're excited for you.
Definitely.
Congratulations again on passing the torch here, I guess, at Randall. This is yours now. They gave this to me at one of the luncheons, but pass that off to you. Next
good.
head coach of the Randall Raiders football team, Coach Sherwood. Thanks so much for joining us, Coach. We'll be right back with more Sports Drive after the break. All right, good.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
That was good.
We appreciate it.